Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is officially draft season. I think it's been already for a couple of weeks here, Shayne, but you are relishing at the opportunity to talk about the players in this draft as our fans, to hear from you about them. So that's why we're here, man. Last year, we did a lot of these shows, like 5, 6, or 7 of these. We had a lot of views from these lovely folks out here who I keep telling people they're showing up for Shayne, not for me. Okay, I know this much about hockey. Shayne knows this much about hockey, and he's also like 8, 9 years younger than me. So take what you want from that. Maybe more. Maybe more. What are you, 23 now?
Yeah, turning 24 in June.
Okay, all right. So 13 years apart we are, but this guy right here, you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it. Let me tell you right now. So Shayne, we're going to get into it this episode here. We're going to get into your mock draft, which is going to be a lot of fun to do. And we're going to talk about who are the Habs most likely to select at number 5. I don't think it's that likely because it's going to be a very hard draft depending on who goes where in the top 5 and the top 4, I should say. We're going to get into your wish list for the Habs at 5. So who would you really like to have if you had the choice, if you had a preference? What players would you like in order if you had a choice? And then also, what's the worst case scenario for the Habs with this 5th overall selection in 2024 here? What's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? So we're going to get into all of that stuff, Shayne. And what are your initial thoughts on this draft class and just the whole process of taking in this draft this year? Because you have taken it in more than any other draft.
Yeah, that's it. This is the draft I've done the most research on, and I've kind of, doing the Recruits Draft Cast with Grant McCagg and Rocco Zappia. I've kind of learned from them as well, but I've done a lot of research. This draft to me is fascinating because of how unpredictable it is, right? Beyond the first overall pick, which we can all agree is Macklin Celebrini. Okay, we don't even need to have this discussion. The draft starts at number 2. Right, the Chicago Blackhawks will dictate the way this draft goes. There's been, I think I've heard 4 different options for the Blackhawks. There's 2 that come up more than others, that being Demidov and Levshunov. But I've heard Silyev, the big 6'7" Russian D. How can you not love that, right? And Caden Lindstrom is also in the conversation at 2. Again, a 6'4" power forward, hard to pass up on, especially considering that the Chicago Blackhawks right now don't have a forward prospect above 6 foot. So that's an interesting fact. I don't look into that too much because they have a ton of talent, but it's going to be a really, really fun draft. I think it was Craig Button that mentioned that you can ask 20 different NHL scouts and they'd give you 20 different top 10s. Nobody has the same top 10, which is awesome. I love that. There is, ambiguity. There is discussions to be had, debates, as long as we keep them respectful. We can debate which player is better than the other because they're all good at the end of the day. I think the top 14, 15 teams in this year's draft are going to leave the Las Vegas Sphere very, very pleased. There is just so much talent this year. And I've heard that some people say this is a weaker draft. I completely disagree. I think there's some serious high-end talent here, even going as far as 15, 16. It's really, really unpredictable. You can make a case for about 13 players to go within the top 5, which is, I don't remember the last time I saw something like that. This type of depth is very, very impressive. I'm not saying this is 2015 level. I don't think anything will top 2015 when you got guys like Kyle Connor and Thomas Chabot going in the late teens, right? That's unprecedented. It's probably never going to happen again. But nonetheless, it's a very exciting draft, Drew. I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, like you said, Pierre Maguire of the eye test on the Sick podcast, where you're on the Sick podcast with Tony Marinaro, as we know. Yep. So that being said, he said after Yzerman, not Yzerman. No, we're going to get into him as well. But he said after Celebrini, it's okay. This draft is okay. So you kind of disagree with that then?
Listen. I love Pierre. I get to work with him often. He's amazing. I do disagree with him. I think Pierre is a fantastic hockey mind, and I love the guy. But this is a very deep draft. You got guys like Berkeley Catton putting up 116 points this year, could go out of the top 10. That's how deep this is. I completely disagree with that, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so this is your mock draft. Do you want to start with that, or do you want to go into your wish list for the Habs with the 5th overall pick? What are you feeling?
Let's do the wish list first, and we'll do the mock draft last. Again, please take the mock draft with a grain of salt. I am by no means an NHL scout, okay? And I don't pretend to be. This is all for fun, and this is what I think makes sense for each team. I did draft in order of my favorite players, the guys I think are better than others. I drafted for, okay, I'm putting myself in this team's shoes at this point in time. Who are they picking? But anyways, we'll get into that. If we start with the Habs at 5, to me, there are 6 players that are in contention. If we're to start with, where do you want to start? Number 1 or number 6?
Let's go number 1. Let's go for the jugular here. Let's go.
Listen. Number 1, it's a wish. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see, 3 teams passing up on this guy, Ivan Demidov. And Drew, I'll say it with my whole chest. I firmly believe that he is the best Russian prospect we've seen since Alex Ovechkin. I will say that without hesitation, okay? He put up 60 points in 30 games in the MHL this year. 2 points per game. That is better than Kucherov. That is better than Kaprizov. That is better than Panarin. That is better than Buchnevich at the same age in the same league, okay? To put even more emphasis on this, he put up 28 points in 17 playoff games. So this isn't just a regular season performer, right? He steps up when the moment is big. And by the way, that is the most points, playoff points for a draft-eligible player in MHL history. Wow. This is insane stuff from this kid. Listen, he's not the biggest. He's 5'11", fine size. He's not small. I wouldn't consider him small. He's like, 175 type thing. He's not going to be your power forward. He's not going to go hit people. He's not going to fight, right? That's not his job. His job is to create offense, put the puck in the back of the net, and help his team win, and he does that. His team won the championship this year. He is a champion. Granted, he missed parts of that final series because he was injured, but nonetheless, he got them there with 28 points in 17 playoff games, Drew. I can't saying that sounds wrong. It's crazy. And listen, I say this is a far-fetched because I don't see Columbus, Anaheim, and Chicago passing up on him. If somehow he falls to 5, Kent Hughes needs to run to the podium and say his name as fast as he can before one team decides, oh no, we made a mistake. Never mind, we wanted him. This is crazy stuff, and I've seen him mocked at 5. I think The Athletic has him at 5. I would love that, that'd be amazing. But listen, I wouldn't put any money on it. It's probably not going to happen. This type of talent comes very, very rarely, and compared to Michkov, right? That's the easiest comparison because he was the Russian guy last year, and Drew, we talked about him ad nauseum. Yep. We love the guy. I still think he's a great prospect, but Demidov is far better. I will put my hand in the fire on this. He's far better. And on top of that, his contract situation, right? So Michkov has a 3-year contract when he was drafted with SKA. On the other hand, Demidov has 1 year on his contract.
Yeah.
So as soon as 2 years later, he could be in the NHL. That, to me, that's a huge selling point. Now, I think the biggest concern with Demidov is the fact that he is going to stay in the KHL and play for SKA for 1 more year. SKA is like the last team you want developing your prospect. They have an old mentality of prioritizing experience and seniority over talent. So in Demidov's case, he should have played for SKA this year, but he was sent down to their farm team in the MHL, which is the equivalent of like sending down a player to the Rocket in the AHL, right? So he played there, crushed it, obviously, but he should have been with SKA, but they just don't value talent as much as we do. They value seniority and experience. So that's why I don't think he's going to get that much playing time next year. Don't see him playing on the power play. It's not going to be good for his development, but he's only there for 1 year. As soon as that season's over, you bring him in to North America and he's yours forever. So, again, I don't think I don't think that concern is enough to push him down to 5, unless there's something else that we don't know, right? We are outsiders looking in, and it's nearly impossible to get information out of Russia. So if he falls to 5 and the Habs actually pass on him, then for a fact there is another problem that we don't know about, right? Nick Bobrov's father works for SKA. He is the inside man. He will know everything, right? If he knows this, don't draft this kid, there's got to be some other issue, but I just don't see it. I've heard nothing but good things about him. Great work ethic, great teammate, all throughout the line. That's why I have him at number 1. He is on my wish list, that is.
Yeah.
He is a special player, Drew.
Well, I mean, you don't have to convince me much more. I just watched the guy and really finally took a good look at the most ideal prospects available for the Canadiens at 5. And I was wrong the last 2 years, I know, but that's why I'm not a scout. But the point being is that, right now we're going to talk about a wish list, which is just for fun, but the most realistic options we'll get to afterwards. And so who's next in your list, though, for your wish list after Demidov?
Number 2 is the guy that's most mocked at number 5. A lot of Habs fans love this kid, and rightfully so. Caden Lindstrom. How can you pass up on a 6'3", 6'4", 220-pound power forward who can put the puck in the net? This kid is a unicorn. He might not have the best hands, the best vision in this draft, but nonetheless, he is a rare type of player that if you get at number 5, you're just licking your chops. He's everything that the Habs could hope for. He would fit right in. The fact that he plays center makes him more valuable. Even if you do end up using him on the wing, the fact that he can play center is a huge plus, right? It's a huge bonus. Anybody who's played hockey knows it's easier to go from center to the wing than to the wing from the wing to center. So for that reason, I think he gains a lot of value. But I mean, 27 goals, 19 assists in 32 games in the WHL. He was injured, right? He had back issues. He hurt his hand or his wrist, something like that. So we didn't really get to see the full extent of what he can do. But from what we could see in 32 games and 4 playoff games, he's easily worth picking at number 5 and potentially higher. You look at Columbus, maybe they want a tandem of Fantilli and Lindstrom. How crazy would that be, right? This kind of pushes Johnson aside, so I don't know if they do that. You'll see my mock draft where I go with this. I won't spoil it just yet, but if the Habs pick Caden Lindstrom at number 5, it's a slam dunk home run. Call it what you want. It's fantastic pick. I think he could be ready as soon as the following season. Right now, he's playing for Medicine Hat Tigers in the WHL, which is a fantastic place for a prospect to develop. Not only is he playing under Willie Desjardins, one of the best coaches in the league, right? He's playing on a really strong team. He's got Andrew Basha, who's another prospect in this year's draft, could be a target with the Habs' second pick, and a generational talent in Gavin McKenna. So, you got these guys mixed together. It's going to be beautiful next season. So I have very little to no concerns with Lindstrom. Some people talk about his back maybe being an issue. I don't know. I think the medical team, once they do their tests and figure out he's fine, I really don't see an issue with him at all. Like his floor is just so high. He's all like, listen, I don't want to jinx or anything, but like he's a can't bust type of player where there is no risk here. You're taking a power forward who can score at will, great shot, it's hard to screw up, right? It's very hard to screw up.
Well, I looked at him, because he's been getting the most noise, I think, out of all the draft eligible prospects. I think that, and also because the fact that they believe there's a best chance that he's available and the best forward available at the time the Canadiens are going to pick at number 5. So what I did find interesting, though, was that this last season, was the first time he moved to center. So he hasn't been a bona fide like centerman for the duration of his career. So is that good in the sense that it gives you an option to have him on the wing? We saw what putting Kirby Dach on the wing did 2 seasons ago when he came to Montreal. He played great with Suzuki and Caulfield. So is it only a good problem to have if he's a winger and maybe a center, depending on where he slots in? But what do you think?
For sure. I mean, if he's good on the faceoffs and being a big body, I think helps him in that department. But he covers the ice well. Defensively, he's not going to win any Selke trophies, but he's reliable. He's not a liability like maybe some other prospects. I don't know. I think the fact that he plays kind of this fluid type of game where, okay, you put him on the wing, but he'll be like a second sort of center type thing, but still be responsible with his, wing duties. I think there's just so much possibility to he's very malleable. As a coach, this is the type of player you want, right? I'm putting myself in Martin St. Louis' shoes right now. You got Caden Lindstrom on your lineup. You could do so much with this. He'd be great on the bumper for the power play. Great shots. His puck protection is fantastic. There's just so much to love about this player.
So he's considered, at least by elite prospects, the best power forward available in this draft. Would you agree with that assessment?
Without question, Drew. Easily. Okay.
So with that being said, I'm curious if they have that in Slavkovsky right now. I don't, Slav's developing at another level. I don't know that another level, but I think he's developing into the player that they were seeing when they drafted him, that people like me were blinded to. But I guess having too many power forwards, probably not a bad thing, but also with a lot of skill. So I'm going to get into Tij Iginla in a minute, but maybe he's next on your list. I don't know. So, who's number 3 on your wish list for the Habs? Is it him or what?
Say it again, baby. Tij Iginla. Rick and I think alike. Yep. Tij Iginla. Right. I love this player, Drew. If the Habs pick him at 5, some people say it's a reach. Maybe, he should go early 10s, maybe type thing. I don't see it. I think this is a top 5 talent all day, every day. 47 goals, 37 assists in 64 games, good for 84 points. But in the playoffs is where we saw the real Tij. 15 points in 11 games. He was phenomenal. Fantastic. 9 goals in those 11 games. Nearly a goal per game pace when it matters most. Every time I saw Tij Iginla step on the ice, I was like, okay, he's got it. I recall the CHL top prospect game. He was the standout for me, without question. You're playing against the best draft eligible players in the CHL, and you're dominating. You're standing out. To me, that's a huge green flag. I love his style of game. I wouldn't consider him a power forward, but the way he protects the puck, the way he uses his body, you could see Jerome, like the influence is so clear. And I'm not saying he's a Jerome Iginla type player. Okay. He's going to be his own type of player, but there are very clear similarities in their game. His puck protection is insane. I think he has the second best shot in this draft. He can score in just about any fashion, which is exactly what you want. You don't want a one-trick pony, a guy that'll just stand in one place and shoot the puck. That becomes predictable. This guy will find a way to score no matter why, no matter how, right? So he's a very, very appealing prospect. Good size, right? 6 foot 190. He's not going to get pushed around, but he's not going to bulldoze guys like Caden Lindstrom would. I think he'd be a fantastic complement to this team. Very close to NHL already. I'd let him cook in the dub for one more year, however, but you could have him fairly soon, I think. And even at the U18s this year with Team Canada, I think he was almost at a 2-point per game pace. He scored the gold-winning goal. He was just a man of all occasions, scored all types of ways, again, produced offense, created offense. He's the whole package. I wouldn't be mad at all with Tij Iginla at 5.
Well, you know what's interesting is when I started researching the most realistic options for the Habs at 5, and I'm trying not to be too focused on forwards, but I am again. I am. I still wanted to look at the defense, the prospects available. But dude, the notes I took on Iginla, I don't know what it was, but when I was firing through the Elite Prospects video, I took more notes on Iginla than anybody else, including Caden Lindstrom. And the notes I took on Iginla were this: he has a wicked release. He drives the net constantly.
Yep.
Hearing that was like music to your ears because of, playoff performer. And you just mentioned him in the playoffs. So that lines up pretty well. The best puck protection technique in the whole class. He understands every part of puck protection and puck retrieval chain, how that sequence works when you're out there trying to protect the puck and retrieve the puck. He makes a play on the opponent first before even thinking about touching the puck. What matters the most to him is that the opposition doesn't get the puck, not that he gets it himself. Interesting from a defensive perspective. And then lastly, there's a tendency that's a tendency that NHL coaches are going to love is that, that's exactly what they've been teaching Slafkovsky and Caulfield and all the Habs to how to play without the puck first. Like it sounds like too good of a match to be true almost in a sense. And there's a high probability that he'll be available at 5. But we'll get into your mock draft because I still feel like from a heart level, for the sake of Calgary Flames fans, not just because I think they just need to draft a good player. And I think they will I think they will at number 9. But dude, Tij Iginla has, to me, out of everybody I watched, him and Caden Lindstrom look the most NHL ready right now. For forwards.
Yeah.
Other than Celebrini. And maybe you can make the argument for Demidov, but they have a different development path for Demidov because he has to play in Russia for another year at least. But I just felt like Iginla and Caden Lindstrom did not look far away from being NHL ready. I was really impressed with Tage, and I think a lot of people are getting more and more impressed with him. He's risen a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Before the season, I think he was mostly mocked at the end of the first. Right, a late first. Now he could go in the top 5 easily. Right, so
that's pretty crazy.
This is another player that can play both center and wing. So you have options here, malleability. You can construct your roster however you want. This player can slot in just about anywhere. He'll be a great power play producer. What's not to love? What is not to love here? I adore this prospect. I have him 3rd on my list, which is again a testament to how good this class is, because he could certainly be 1st. But and I got more players to talk about that could could make a great case for number 5. It's a fun draft, Drew. And to touch on your point too about the defenseman, last year, I think you and I both learned a lot from that draft to keep an open mind. We were so dead set on a forward, and to our credit, right, it was some pretty good forwards available. Michkov, Leonard, Benson, right? We were talking about Will Smith too in the eventuality he didn't get picked at 4th. We didn't really talk about defensemen that much, and the Habs picked Ryan Backer, which again I think was the best defenseman in last year's draft class. This year is a different scenario. I'll walk you through it when we get there, but I'm keeping an open mind. That's what I'm doing this year. I trust Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton and the scouting team. They have done nothing but show us that they know what they're doing, right? The Slav pick was so criticized, and people were so dead set on Shayne Wright. I'm looking at us too. Because, hey, I'll admit it. I wanted the safe pick. I wanted the guy that was going to be the first pick for 5 years, and when they pick Slav, I'm like, okay, let's see what this is. And he is, he's risen to be a star, 50 points in your 19-year-old season in the NHL is insane. What he brings to this team. Listen, I could talk about Slav all day. Point is, trust this scouting team. Okay. Whatever they do, it's for the best.
Yep. Yep. So we went through 3 players. You have Demidov, Lindstrom, and Tij Iginla. Who do you got at number 4 for your wish list for the Habs?
Number 4 is Grant's kid, Beckett Sennecke. Beckett Sennecke is the riser this year's draft. And I don't know if you could consider him a riser because last season he had a great year. 55 points in 61 OHL games is fantastic for a D-1 player. Now, in his draft year, 68 points in 63 games. It's not exactly the progression you would want to see. However, there is a very good explanation for that. He put on about 4 inches in less than 2 years. This kid grew like crazy. He is now 6'2", 6'3", still a little thin. He's about 170, 175, so he's got some frame to fill out. But once he was able to adjust to his new body, sounds weird to say, but it's the truth, right? He was like Bambi on the ice, just falling and getting used to his long legs and taller frame. Once he got used to that and using it to his advantage, and he got put on a line with Cal Ritchie, he blew up. The second half of his regular season, he was phenomenal. And then he just kept going in the playoffs. Again, Drew, you'll see it. You'll see a theme here. I'm a playoff performer type of guy because you're not drafting for regular season Toronto Maple Leafs. You're drafting to win in the playoffs, okay? You're drafting to build a contender. You want players who step up when it matters most. Beckett Sennecke is that guy. 22 points in 16 games. He led his team to the OHL finals. He got hurt, unfortunately. And listen, the Oshawa Generals were no match for the London Knights, let's be honest here. But nonetheless, he was the driving factor. He was the engine behind this team, along with Cal Ritchie. This player is sick. He has, I agree with Grant on this, he has the second silkiest mitts in this draft. This kid will give you highlight reel plays every night, okay? And he doesn't mind using his body either. He's not some weak little player, okay? He'll rough up some guys. He'll go in the dirty areas. He'll hit a player. He doesn't mind. And he'll fill out too, so he'll be even stronger. I love the profile of this player. However, he is a riskier player than, say, a Caden Lindstrom, right? Caden Lindstrom's floor is way higher than Beckett Sennecke's. But Beckett Sennecke's ceiling might actually be higher than Lindstrom. There is a case to be made there. So you potentially draft a better player, but with more risk. That's where I have him at. That's why I have him at 4th. I'm not, a huge gambler. I'm not a big risk taker, but he is worth taking a risk. If the Habs pick him at 5, I know a lot of people are going to be mad. Trust it. Trust it. If he's the guy at 5, trust it, because there is so much upside with this player. Offensive potential through the roof. However, he is just a winger. He won't play center. So maybe, that bumps him down a few notches. Nonetheless, Drew, if he's there at 5 and the Habs pick him, that's 2 thumbs up for me. I'm all for it.
Does he remind you a little bit of Tage Thompson and his potential ceiling, or is that kind of a weird player to compare at this point?
The best comparison I've heard is Jason Spezza.
Okay.
That's a heck of a player, Drew. That's a heck of a player, right? If he's anything like Jason Spezza, and we're talking, like frame, right? Yeah. It's like it's the frame, it's the agility, the hands, the plays, very similar to Spezza. I don't think he's going to be that kind of player, however. I think he's going to be his own type of player, but there's clear similarities there. I love that comparison. If he can be 3/4 of what Spezza was, pick at number 5 is well worth it.
Okay. I like it. Well, it's good information because, some folks believe it's something we need to really consider. So there you have it. So who do you have for your final wish list potential pick for the Habs at number 5?
So number 5, I'm going to have Berkeley Catton. 116. Let me say that again, Drew. 116 points in 68 WHL games. When you're talking about a player like that being available at 5, usually it's like it makes no sense. This is a top 3 offensive talent, right? However, it's the game isn't complete yet, right? He is, I believe, 5'11", 170 on the smaller side, not very physical. He won't be a dominant presence on the ice, but he will create a lot of offense. That's for sure. That's why you have to consider him. And I mean, he's already wearing the colors, right? So it's easy to envision him with the Habs. But listen, if the Habs pick him at 5, I'll be happy with it. I think there are better players available, but I saw him before the season at the Linka Gretzky Cup, and he was captain for Team Canada. Drew, he scored a goal in every game. Every game he scored a goal, and he led Canada to a gold medal. He was phenomenal in that tournament. Really, really stood out. I don't know if it's enough to be selected at 5th because of the other concerns. Again, in the playoffs, 4 points in 4 games. Sorry, he was injured, so I'll give him a pass on that. I would have loved to seen him go to the U18s, but again, injury prevented him from going. I think that could have really boosted his draft stock if he went. It's a tough one with Berkeley Catton, right? If he fills out and kind of grows defensively and kind of gets this edge to him and maybe plays more physical, he'd be a fantastic pick at 5th, but not my favorite. However, I have to mention him because that kind of offensive production is undeniable. You have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. 116 points in 68 games. Like, you kind of have to acknowledge it and be like, I can't ignore that, because the Habs are looking for 2, like what Eric Engel said, even on the show, on the Sick podcast earlier this week, as you produced. Yep. And he said, the Canadiens are looking to add 2 forwards to their top 6, 2 top 6 forwards, ideally in the next couple of years, or 2 to 3 years, I would say. Right.
Yep.
And you need someone that can score. The Habs need to score. They need goal scorers. They need point production, but also to expect the unexpected from Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton. They will address those needs in one way or the other, whether it's with the 5th overall pick or with the 5th overall pick and a trade. They're going to address those needs with at least 1 forward, maybe 2 by the end of this draft. And I think I'd have to agree with them on that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, don't expect a top 6 guy with the 27th pick. I'm just going to say that. But the 27th pick can be used in a package to trade for a top 6 guy. So listen, mock trades are so hard. Nobody predicted the Alex Newhook trade. Nobody predicted the Kirby Dach trade. At this point, you just have to sit back and just appreciate what Kent Hughes is doing, because he is going to do something. That's another thing that Eric Engel said. He said he's expecting something, and so am I. I don't think they pick at 27. We'll get to that, but I don't think they pick at 27.
Well, I think we should just get right into it then. Let's get into your mock draft. Let's fire through it. We've spent a good chunk of time on who the Habs could take with their number 5 overall pick. And I really want to show folks this mock draft here and have you run through it with us. So let's just pull it up here and then let you fire through it, my friend. And we're going to start with number 1, who we all know. And then maybe number 1 doesn't need much explanation, as we just talked about earlier. But you don't seem to think that Demidov's going to make it to 5. So no surprise here.
I can't see it, Drew. The potential of pairing Demidov and Bedard is too good to pass up on for Chicago. As much as they need defensemen, and they do, Kevin Korchinski will not be the savior. Okay. Alex Vlasic is good, but they really don't have that much on defense. So there is a good case for Levshunov. There is a case for Salayev. I just cannot see them passing on Demidov. He is way too good to pass up on. This is a gift from the hockey gods. If they do pass up on him, he'll go to Anaheim or Columbus. Like, I really can't envision a world where the Habs pick Demidov at 5. The only way they do is if they trade up to get him. Mm-hmm. I think. Listen, we can get to trade scenarios later if you want, but again, I just don't see it. Levshunov at 3. Levshunov is actually not my favorite defenseman in this draft, but the fact that he is a big, mobile, right-handed D, similar to Ryan Backer last year, where that kind of profile just boosts his value. They're hard to come by, and GM Pat Verbeek straight up came out and said, "We're adding a right-handed defenseman this summer." He didn't say if it was the draft, free agency, trade, whatever. I think they take Levshunov at 3. They're stacked on forward, right? McTavish, Carlson, Cutter Gauthier, Trevor Zegras, Troy Terry. They're really, really strong at forward. And on defense, honestly, Anaheim is building a juggernaut, right? They already have Zellweger. They have Mintyukov, Tristan Luneau, Noah Warren, right? Add Levshunov to that core. My goodness. It's going to be disgusting in Anaheim. Number 4 to Columbus. You can make a case for Caden Lindstrom here. I think they go Zane Parekh. Zane Parekh is actually my favorite defenseman from this draft. It's 96. Hold on, Drew. Hold on. 96 points in 66 games. He is a defenseman. He is a defenseman putting up. It's ridiculous. I don't know how people are mocking him outside of the top 10. He's my favorite defenseman from this draft. The fact that he's a right-handed defenseman too boosts his value. We know left-handed defensemen are more of a common commodity than right-handed defensemen. And if I'm looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets depth chart on defense, on the left side they have Zach Werenski and they're going to have Denton Mateychuk. Really, really good, right? On the right side they have David Jiricek. That's it. So you add Zane Parekh to that top 4. Ew! They have to do it. To me, they have to do it. It's going to be beautiful in Columbus. Imagine a power play with Parekh and Fantilli and all that. Oh, yeah. Parekh at 4, I'm very comfortable with that pick. Number 5, Caden Lindstrom. We delved into it earlier. I think this would be a fantastic ad for the Canadiens. Just, you want to build a playoff team. This is the kind of guy you want on your team. A big body, puck protecting, hard hitting, power forward who mixes in with, the likes of Kirby Dach and Uri Slafkovsky, the big boys on this team that compensate for, say, Caulfield, Lane Hudson, who are a bit on the smaller side. You need balance. For all those reasons, Caden Lindstrom is, to me, an easy pick at 5. Number 6 is actually my second favorite defenseman from this draft, and it still has the Coyotes logo on it, but it's Utah selecting Zeev Buium. I adore this player. He is so damn good, an offensive, dynamic, power play quarterback defenseman. That is exactly what Utah needs right now on defense. I'm not loving it. They got Sean Dursey and JJ Moser, sure, but none of those guys are going to be PP1 quarterbacks, right? And then in the pipeline, they have, last season they drafted Simashev, which I thought was not a really good pick, to be honest with you. They also have Maverick Lamoureux. Kid's like 6'7", right? But he's more of a shutdown type D with a bit of offense. I don't think any of the guys I just named can run a power play like Zeev Buium can. At number 6, that's a great pick there. Number 7, the Ottawa Senators. I'm lucky I get to work with Rocco Zappia, who is a Sens fan, so I'm getting a bit of an insight from him into the mind of Sens fans and what their needs are and all that. He has been pushing for a right-handed defenseman to pair with Jake Sanderson, and I agree. I think they really need that kind of guy, and Yakimchuk is, to me, the 3rd best right-handed D in this draft class. Obviously, Levshunov and Parekh are 1 and 2. But Yakimchuk is just fantastic. That's like 30 goals this season as a defenseman. He's got a rocket of a shot. Maybe a bit undisciplined. He took quite a few penalties, but I think that's something you can work on. He's a big body. I think he's like 6'3". Would be a great pair for Jake Sanderson. Yakimchuk at 7. I'm comfortable with. Number 8, the Seattle Kraken take the massive Anton Salayev. Again, this is a team that is pretty good on offense, honestly. You got Shayne Wright, you got Edward Chalet, the guy from the Kitchener Rangers. His name's slipping my mind here, but they're looking really good on offense, prospect-wise. So, Matty Beniers too. But on defense, they really don't have much. Jagger Firkus, I'm forgetting too, on offense. They got a bunch, right?
Yeah.
Anton Salayev would be great in Seattle. I think he's got a great profile. I don't know that he has the offensive upside that maybe a Sam Dickinson would. So I would consider Dickinson at 8. But I think Salayev, that profile of a mobile 6'7" defenseman, is just so hard to come by. I don't think Seattle passes up on that. And yes, Tij Iginla, number 9 to the Calgary Flames. The world is healing. It's crazy that, Tij is my third on my Habs wish list at 5, and I have him going 9th. Again, that's how deep this draft is. Okay, so many talented players. Sorry, got to take a sip of water real quick. Been yelling my head off.
Yeah, yeah, you're doing a lot of talking, and you're doing a good job. So keep it up.
I'm passionate about this.
I see that.
A lot of fun. Listen, Tij Iginla is what Calgary needs. I'm not just taking him to Calgary because of the obvious connection.
The bloodline. For WWE fans, sorry.
It's beautiful. It's poetic, but he is the type of player Calgary needs. He's a high offensive potential forward, which they really don't have. I would love Tij Iginla at number 9 to the Calgary Flames. I think that's a great fit.
Well, that's your top 9. So let's just keep rocking. Let's keep rocking and rolling right into number 10 and just keep rocking and rolling along here, buddy.
Yeah, Cole Yzerman is another guy that, certain Habs fans have been talking about. I am not very high on Cole Yzerman. I think he is a bit of a one-trick pony. He obviously, should be the best goal scorer out of this draft. Should be. But I don't see right now his game translating to the NHL level. He sits in one spot. He gets fed. He doesn't produce offense. I think he had 9 assists this season. That's not very good. At the U18s, didn't really impress me that much. Scored goals, sure, but prepared by his teammates. Again, not degrading the player. He's got so much potential, but it's so raw, and there's just so many concerns that it's hard for me to see him going higher than 10. And I have him at 10 to New Jersey Devils because the Devils are a team that can wait. They can let him cook in Boston University, which is, by the way, a fantastic program for that type of player to go into. He's going to work on those deficiencies there. And imagine that player fixed up, right, with all those deficiencies ironed out on a line with Jack Hughes. To me, that idea for New Jersey is too good to pass up on. That's why I have him at 10. I could see him going as low as 16, 17, to be honest with you. He is very, very hard to project because of how many deficiencies he currently has. But you can't bash on the shot, right? The goal scoring ability is absolutely there. He broke Cole Caulfield's record. We all know that. I just want to see more. I want to see more playmaking. I want to see better defending. I want to see him use his body more. He's not a small guy. He's like 6 foot 190. He should be able to hit. He should be able to go in the corners, in front of the net, dirty areas, score goals in different fashions. That's what I want to see for Cole Yzerman. For now, 10, I'm fine with. Number 11, Buffalo Sabres. Berkeley Catton. It's hard to pass up on a guy like that, right? At number 11, 116 points, like I said. Man, Buffalo, listen, I don't know when it's going to be that they actually are good, but they keep adding great pieces. Like if they take Berkeley Catton at 11, you add that to their forward core and their impressive decor already with, Power, Darlene, Bowen Byram they added. So, you had him on forward with Dylan Cousins, Zach Benson, Liam Ogren was on Minnesota. Who's the other Swedish guy? Anyways, they drafted another Swedish guy that's really good. Point is,
Matthew Savoie.
That's right in. What's that?
Matthew Savoie. They have Savoie.
Jeez, yeah. Cat fits right in. Like, this is high upside, very talented forward. So at number 11, I like this fit. 12, Sam Dickinson. A lot of people have him higher. He's ranked 4th on the consensus board. I could absolutely see him go in the 4th or 3rd or something like that. He's a victim of circumstance in the sense that he is extremely talented. Definitely one of the better defensemen in this draft, but because of all the other teams, like this is going to be a scenario where players are going to fall because they're second on a team's list, right? They could be really high on a team's list, but there's just the one guy that's above them. Oh, they're going to take this guy. The next team, oh, well, he's second on. We're going to take this guy instead. Just keeps falling. And the Philadelphia Flyers are thrilled with Sam Dickinson here. He goes to play with his buddy from the London Knights there. Oliver Bonk. Thank you. Oliver Bonk. That decor, I mean, they got Cam York, they got Jamie Drysdale, right? You add Sam Dickinson, Oliver Bonk. It's looking good. It's looking good. A little thin on offense for my taste. They do have Michkov coming in at some point, but I think they go Sam Dickinson at 12. 13, Beckett Sennecke. Again, this guy, I have him potentially going 5th. And in my mock, he's going 13th. Another victim of circumstance. This player should not be dropping to 13, but he very well might, and he might drop lower. It's crazy saying that, but he might. Minnesota is just thrilled with this pick. I think they got a steal. Number 14, Consta Helenius to the San Jose Sharks. Imagine leaving the draft with Macklin Celebrini and Consta Helenius. San Jose is building something special here, okay? They got some really strong offense. However, I think they need defense. I wouldn't be shocked if they traded that 14th pick or drafted a defenseman here at 14. I don't know that Jiricek is the guy at 14. Maybe a bit of a reach. Again, I said no reaches this draft, but maybe a bit of a reach when Helenius is available. I think you gotta go take him. Number 15, Liam Greentree. Again, power forward, big, strong kid who can shoot the puck and score. Detroit needs that type of player. I think they're set on defense. You know, they got Moritz Seider. They got the big kid Edvidson there. They drafted Axel Sandin Palika too. I really like what the direction Detroit is going. I think Liam Greentree would be a great and easy fit there. Number 16, the St. Louis Blues, Michael Brandsegg, knee guard. That's going to be fun on the back of a jersey. We gotta find this guy. Nickname Grant calls him Mikey Shinpad because of knee guard. Kind of just stuck with me. I'm gonna call him Shinpad too. But yeah, he's a very high floor, low ceiling type of player. An easy pick, a safe pick. I don't know. Not much to say about him. He's very good. And listen, beyond 16, it's a very fluid. Okay, there are arguments for players all over the place. It's just my thoughts, what I think the team needs. 17 to the Washington Capitals. They need defense. It's pretty clear. I don't think they have much going on aside from John Carlson, who is getting up in age. So I think Adam Jiricek is a high potential player who had a bit of a disappointing season, but could be a great fit for Washington. Now at 18, Trevor Connolly. This is a player that is just so polarizing. I know Simon the Snake Boivard is so high on this guy. I am not. I am really not. Listen, you cannot deny the offensive potential, right? But my goodness, the gold medal U18s, US is dominating the game. And this guy takes the dumbest penalty ever, gets a 5-minute, gets ejected, and the U.S. loses the gold medal. This is not the type of player you want on your team, okay? These bonehead brain farts, call it what you want. It's a big red flag. Big red flag. Listen, it only happened once, okay? It's not like a pattern thing with this guy, but once is too much. This was a huge mistake, and for no reason. He hit the guy in the head for absolutely no reason. It was the correct call. It cost US the game. I'm not a big Trevor Connolly guy, but I think the New York Islanders need that kind of offensive upside and will take a chance on him. I could see him going way lower. But 18, I think, is fine. Again, this becomes very hodgepodge type of mixed thing, right? Chernyshov to Vegas is a fine player. Again, Michael Hage, Tariq Parashak, Sasha Boisvert. Toronto taking EJ Emery to me makes just so much sense. EJ Emery reminds me so much of Keandre Miller, right? That type of defenseman is exactly what Toronto needs. And I think Treleving would be stupid to pass up on him. I'm a huge fan of EJ Emery. Unfortunately, I have to stay unbiased here. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs take him. Ryder Ritchie, Andrew Basha, Jet Luchenko, Cole Baudouin to number 27. He's a player that I've really, really enjoyed. He is another power forward. So, like, if the Habs leave with Lindstrom and Baudouin from the first round, you're looking good here. You're looking really good. This kid is huge. He is strong. He can score. He can do just about anything. He really impressed me at the World U18s. Cole Baudouin at 27 would be great value for the Habs, but you can make a case for just about 10 players at 27. Like, again, there's a lot of talent in this draft. Maybe not top 6 upside. Well, yeah, I think there is top 6 upside. The floor is a bit lower, but at 27, what can you do, right? You're not going to get a superstar. And then to round out this draft class, this first round, sorry, Emil Hemming to Carolina.
Ooh,
Cole Hudson, 29 to the Calgary Flames.
Let's try this.
Listen, this kid I adore. I absolutely loved him. I thought he was probably the U.S.'s best player in the gold medal game at the U18s. He was just so good, dynamic, very, very reminiscent of Lane. The family ties are very visible, but I think Calgary needs a type of player like that. And I just don't see Cole falling that much. Again, there's still the size thing, but I think there's 31 teams that are kicking themselves for not taking Lane Hudson earlier. And I don't see him dropping that far. I think he's a lock for second round. And right now I have him in the first. So I wish him all the best. Rob, you've done a fantastic job with your boys. I hope he does get picked in the first round. 30 Dean Letourneau. Again, a lot of Habs fans have been high on Letourneau because he is like a 6'7" center. You could absolutely make a case for him at 27. I just think at 30, right? I was talking about how Philly needs that kind of offense. They get their big boy center to pair with Michkov. Adam Yeko to Dallas, and Dominic Badinka, that's a fun name, to the New York Rangers. Rounds out the first round. I would put my life savings that this is not how it will play out, but this is just my thoughts on what could possibly look like the first round this year.
I like it. Yep. I'm going to shift back over to the center spot here because now we are finished the mock draft, so to speak. Well, I shouldn't say mock. Well, that's your mock draft. I have to refocus the camera. That's why I'm reaching over and, doing what I'm doing. But that's a pretty fun little exercise to go through, man. And I just learned a lot about a lot of players. I didn't know much or anything at all about some of them. So I appreciate that. And I think fans will appreciate that as well. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. We covered a lot of ground here because of, you going through your wish list for the Habs with the 5th overall pick. And there's, players that we've all been discussing. And it seems like there's a lot of love for Tij Iginla right now. And I think a lot of people would be really excited if we ended up with him. But if Caden Lindstrom is healthy, I mean, it's going to be hard to turn down a power forward that can, really drive play and perform in the playoffs and really be hard to play against in the playoffs, which is what the Canadiens are trying to build, is a long-term playoff contender, Stanley Cup contender. So it's going to be interesting, man. And we still got about 5 weeks until the draft. So we've got a lot of time to break it all down, but it was fun with you to, of course, get your thoughts. And that's what everyone's been kind of waiting for here, and including myself. And when Bob McKenzie's final rankings come out, we know we're going to have to talk about those because they are.
I'll be back.
Consistently. Yes, you will. They are consistently accurate year in and year out as best as possible. But Yeah, so we'll get back to it. But thank you all for watching. Shayne, thank you for bringing in your insight as always. You know we love you and appreciate you, man. So just want to say thanks for doing that, and we're gonna do it a few more times, I do believe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So thanks everyone for watching. Continue to watch the Sick Podcast with Shayne Gaumont, Tony Marinaro, and the whole crew. Awesome show. We all love it. You all know it. And we'll see you guys again real soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.